right, here we go. Welcome into the San Francisco 49ers Report. My name is Chase Sr., and here's what we have coming up. A major update on the Robert Saleh defensive coordinator hiring and hunt. Also, San Francisco interviewing multiple coaches to see which candidates they want to hire for their special teams coordinator position, their offensive coordinator position, on top of their DC search. Before we do all of that, we're shooting toward 155,000 subscribers right here on the channel. 227 people away from that number. Seahawks fans, Rams fans, Cardinals fans, Cowboys fans, they're all in my DMs, and they're saying, Chase, you're never going to get the channel to 155K. I said, you know what? I think that we can do it with this show. Huge offseason coming up for San Francisco. I have you covered every step of the way, so be sure to lock us in. Hit that sub button right now. Robert Saleh got fired by the New York Jets earlier this year, then was an offensive consultant with the Green Bay Packers. Packers losing the wild card round on Sunday to the Philadelphia Eagles, and now Robert Saleh is looking at what's next in his coaching career. Well, today he completed an interview with the Jacksonville Jaguars. Straight from the source, the Jags tweeted that out, that we have completed an interview with Robert Saleh for our head coaching vacancy. And Zach Rosenblatt of The Athletic thinks that Saleh is a dark horse candidate and a legitimate candidate to land that job and taking over for Doug Peterson. And I thought it was interesting what he had to say, so here you go. This one might feel like it's out of left field, but there's some real buzz about Saleh's chances of securing this job. Saleh might have been helped by Jets owner Woody Johnson's decision to fire him in Week 5, especially because of what happened afterward. The Jets were significantly worse after interim coach Jeff Ulbrich took over, particularly on defense, where Saleh had built the Jets into one of the league's top 5 defenses in both 2022 and in 2023. Saleh was never able to overcome a lack of quarterback talent in his first few years, and Johnson wasn't patient enough to let him get a shot at coaching a healthy Aaron Rodgers. Ultimately, Saleh went 20-36 overall, and the Jets were among the NFL's most penalized teams and typically among the worst offenses under his watch. But he also learned a lot from that Jets experience. More importantly, as it relates to the Jaguars job, Saleh has a lot of fans inside the Jags building from his time as the linebackers coach from 2014 to 2016. He'd also be inheriting a more talented roster in Jacksonville than he did with the Jets in 2021, starting at quarterback. No matter what you think about Trevor Lawrence, he's an obvious upgrade over what Saleh had with Zach Wilson. The Jags have weapons on offense and some talent on defense. So Rosenblatt saying there that given Saleh's experience and his history with the Jaguars, he has some fans inside that building. And that makes him a legitimate candidate for this gig. Just some thoughts that I have about Saleh going to the Jaguars. He was a linebackers coach there from 2014 to 2016. So I think him being there, them being familiar with him, helps him. He is looked at as a culture-building type of head coach. Those Jets defenses under his watch were really good. Again, he just couldn't get the quarterback spot right. Does he want to work with Trent Baalke, who right now is kind of a dead man walking at the general manager spot because Shad Khan, the Jets owner, fired Doug Peterson, but retained Trent Baalke, even though they were a package deal a few years ago. I don't know if Saleh would want to go from one bad owner in Woody Johnson to another bad owner in Shad Khan. But look, these head coaching jobs are tough to get. There are only 32 opportunities in the world, and you never know when you're going to get one of those gigs. If you're the Jags, I do pose this question to Khan and Trent Baalke. What is your plan to get Trevor Lawrence back on track? What is your plan to get Trevor Lawrence playing well? I'm personally not sure if Robert Saleh is the guy to do that. Why? He's a defensive mind. He's not an offensive mind. And if Saleh gets OC right, that OC is going to leave. And so if I'm Jacksonville, I'm looking at the Buccaneers offensive coordinator and Liam Cohen, not a far travel from Tampa to Jacksonville. And that's an offensive-minded coach, a play caller who did a great job with Will Levis at Kentucky, who stinks at the NFL level, couldn't beat out Sean Clifford at Penn State, and Sean Clifford isn't an NFL caliber quarterback. And then look at what he did with Baker Mayfield this year. Without Mike Evans, without Chris Godwin, Baker Mayfield played awesome, And last year, he also played really well under Dave Canales. And Baker Mayfield didn't miss a beat going from Dave Canales to Liam Cohen. And so if I'm the Jags, I want to go offensive mind here, not defensive mind. But Robert Saleh, no doubt, is a really impressive coach. The issue that the 49ers face in their search for a defensive coordinator, if they go all in on trying to land Robert Saleh and they miss out on him, what's the plan B? What's the alternative plan? Last year, because the Niners played in the Super Bowl and their season lasted until early February, they fired Steve Wilks. Kyle Shanahan tried to hire Bill Belichick. He tried to get Steve Spagnuolo. He tried to get Jeff Ulbrich. He whiffed on all of those candidates. And what happened? He was left with few options where he had to elevate and promote Nick Sorensen, whose inexperience was on display all year and was clearly in over his skis, and Shanahan lost out on some of the top defensive coordinator candidates. If they try to land Saleh and he gets a head coaching job or gets a DC job elsewhere, are the Niners going to be left scrambling once again? Hiring Saleh, though, would be my top choice. I put together my perfect offseason plan for San Francisco, and one of my steps within that plan, bringing Saleh back. He's one of the top defensive coordinators on the market. He gives you leadership and energy on the sideline, has an ability to maximize and develop players, and it gives you scheme continuity. Just let him be the head coach of the defense, Kyle Shanahan the head coach of the offense, and that's a really good coaching staff. If the Niners can't hire Saleh, I would target Dennis Allen. He'd be my second favorite defensive coordinator candidate. If you want continuity at DC, Dennis Allen failed as a head coach with the Raiders, failed as a head coach with the New Orleans Saints. He's not going to be a head coach anymore. Robert Saleh has one more chance to become a head coach at the National Football League level. And Allen is a very interesting name. Some people said, well, that Saints defense last year, it stunk. It actually didn't. Suffered from a ton of injuries, and the defense was never a problem under Dennis Allen. Offense was. And when he was the DC under Sean Payton, those Saints defenses were always good. He was the Broncos DC in 2011, used that to become the Raiders head coach. He was there from 2012 through 2014. Saints head coach for a few more years, 2022 to 2024. But when he was the Saints defensive coordinator from 2015 to 2021, those defenses were some of the best in the NFL. And when Tom Brady was playing with the Bucs inside the NFC South, Dennis Allen put together masterful game plans against those Tom Brady offenses. Had no answers. Never fared well against the Saints. Kyle Shanahan knows what Allen can bring to the table. In November of 2022, the Niners scored 13 points and averaged 4.7 yards per play against a Dennis Allen-led defense. He runs a 4-3 like the Niners. Scheme continuity there. What's interesting, he had the number one press man coverage rate while with the Saints. The Niners play a lot of zone. He relies on 4 to get home, but he does a great job of developing DBs and gets very aggressive with his coverages on the back end. And his experience as a DC, that body of work, it's been very impressive. So Robert Saleh, number 1, Dennis Allen, number 2. My top 2 candidates, and he too could be the head coach of that defense. So today's poll question is this: where will Robert Saleh land? That's a big mystery right now. Drop me a team name down below in the comment section. So we have that major update on Robert Saleh. Still to come, the Niners have interviewed a handful of coaches. We're going to talk about those guys, and we're going to look at their resumes before we dive into that. Today's show, sponsored by our friends at PrizePicks, the best daily fantasy sports app in the game and the largest daily fantasy sports platform in North America. More than 10 million active members, billions of dollars handed out in awarded winnings, and right now you can win up to 1,000 times your cash. And when you play $5, you will get $50 instantly only if you go to prizepicks.com/CLNS. You don't even need to win to receive that $50 bonus. It's guaranteed. NFL playoffs are here. College football national championship coming up on Monday. Don't miss out on the last few weeks of football season with our friends at PrizePicks. And speaking of that natty, Will Howard, Ohio State quarterback, he's been playing really well. There is a Will Howard special on PrizePicks right now. All he has to do is throw for 1 touchdown. He does that, you get an easy win. Or, sorry, more than a half yard. So he's obviously going to throw for more than a half yard, right? So that's an easy win. That's the PrizePicks special. They always have some great specials. Riley Leonard, less than 167.5 passing yards. He's big. He can run. I have concerns about the arm. And then Jeremiah Smith if you were to declare for the NFL draft, he's a freshman, he'd be a top 10 pick. Less than 80.5 receiving yards. I think Marcus Freeman going to do everything to keep him in check like Texas did. It's Daily Fantasy Sports made easy. Pick more, pick less. Run your game with PrizePicks. PrizePicks.com/CLNS. So the Niners over the last few days have interviewed a handful of candidates for their special teams coordinator job, their offensive coordinator job, their defensive coordinator job. Special teams-wise, the Niners interviewed Jett Modkins for the special teams coordinator role after firing Brian Schneider last week. More on Modkins here. Works under Dave Phipp as the assistant special teams coach. Phipp is known to be one of the top special teams coordinators in the NFL. The Lions have the #1 special teams DVOA ranking in the NFL. From 2021 through 2023, they went 8 of 10 on fake punts. So they're very aggressive and creative there in Detroit with that third phase of the game. In 2023, the Lions gave up the lowest average field position on kickoff returns. And in 2022, they had the highest percentage of kick returns of 20-plus yards. Jett Modkins is a younger coach, doesn't have a ton of experience, started his coaching career in 2019, but he's learned under one of the best, and he's helped to coach one of the top special teams units. His dad was the Niners offensive coordinator back in 2016. The Niners also interviewed Chris Banjo for their special teams coordinator job. He has the same position as Modkins, assistant special teams coach, but with the Denver Broncos. Banjo was an NFL special teamer from 2013 through 2022. So he lived that life, and he played that life. Joined the Broncos staff right away after his playing career under Sean Payton in 2023. So like Modkins, some inexperience. But Denver this year, 2nd in punt returns, 5th in field goals and extra points, #4 in special teams DVOA. And then the Niners, this news just in on this Tuesday, have interviewed former Panthers special teams coordinator and interim head coach Chris Tabor, and he is interviewed for the special teams coordinator job as well. And that news just came in. I'm going to read out his resume here. From 2008 to 2010, he was the assistant special teams coach with the Chicago Bears. Then he went to the Cleveland Browns, special teams coordinator from 2011 through 2017. Went back to the Bears, special teams coordinator there from 2018 through 2021. Panthers special teams coordinator in 2022 and in 2023. And after the Panthers fired Frank Reich, he was the interim head coach and special teams coordinator. So anytime you're elevated to be interim head coach, you're thought of highly in coaching circles. And then for the Niners offensive coordinator job, the Niners interviewed Iowa State wide receiver coach and pass game coordinator Noah Pauley. Little-known coach in the college ranks, coached at Iowa State in 2023, wide receivers coach, pass game coordinator. So he did not overlap with Brock Purdy, but he was the wide receivers coach at North Dakota State when Trey Lance was there. I'm not sure if the Niners knew him from those pre-draft workouts. He did work with the Packers staff in 2022 as part of the Bill Walsh coaching program. And he's a coach who I expect to be in college a little bit. Maybe he'll go to the NFL level at some point. I do not think he's a serious candidate to be the Niners offensive coordinator because a lot of these interviews, unfortunately, are to satisfy the Rooney Rule, interviewing minority candidates. Clay Kubiak is going to be named offensive coordinator at some point in the next few weeks. Kyle Shanahan named him the OC during his end-of-the-season press conference, and the NFL said, hold on, you can't do that. You have to conduct a search. I don't know why you can't just internally promote somebody, but hey, those are the NFL rules. Be sure to give me a follow on X and Instagram, covering all things Niners here, and on social media, it's at Chase_Senior on both platforms.